You are listening to ASCP Esty Talk, where we share insider tips, industry resources, and education for estheticians at every stage of the journey. Let's talk, because ASCP knows it's all about you.
Hello, and welcome to ASCP Esty Talk. I am Cressman, a licensed esthetician, certified organic skincare formulator, and content contributor for ASCP.
And I am Maggie, Staszcuk, licensed esthetician and ASCP's cosmetology education manager.
And I am Tracy Donnelly, Executive Director of Associated Skincare Professionals, and I am so excited to be with you ladies today. What are we talking about?
Oh my gosh, I have something really exciting to tell you guys. So recently, I traveled for work, and on my way home, I sat next to a gentleman and a lady. And usually I'm one of those people too, like on the way going somewhere, I'm super talkative, but on the way home, especially after that week, I didn't really want to talk to anybody. But alas, we ended up having an amazing conversation, the three of us. And it turns out the person I was sitting next to was a gentleman who was coming to Denver he's a certified halal person. So halal is we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dying to know.
So halal is is an Arabic word meaning lawful or permitted, but it's a set of dietary laws from the Quran. And I had just read about halal skincare ingredients and halal certification. So he was he was of an agency that certified. So I ended up asking him a bunch of questions, and it sparked in me this need to dig further. So when I got back home, I just said, you know what, let's examine this further. And come to find out, there's something that we've talked about previously on here. Last year, we talked about certification.
Right? Yep.
Certified organic in particular with Twivu. And then we have just recently talked about clean, green, and sustainable and what that meant. And so after lots of digging, I found something interesting. So I'm going to ask the question, cruelty-free, kosher, vegan, and halal, what do you think they have in common?
They're cruelty-free.
They
Vegan.
all are a certification.
There's all a certification for it, absolutely. But how are they different? How are they certified? Are they important designations? Absolutely. What's very interesting when we're looking at like cruelty-free and vegan, those are something that's become more and more popular. And the certification process for that is they're very closely related to kosher and halal.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I mean, they're respecting a certain way of treating the product.
Yes, absolutely. So the certification, like these products that we have, we see like cruelty-free and we see the leaping bunny or PETA certified, or we see vegan, these certified stamps on product labeling. There's actually a certified process for that. And what does that mean? So let's define those. So cruelty-free. To have a product be certified cruelty-free, that means that no animals were harmed in the making of this product. So oftentimes that cruelty-free marker is not just the end product. We'll get into that. Now, kosher. Kosher is from the Hebrew word meaning pure or fit, and it is a set of dietary laws from the Bible or Torah. And that means that you have to follow a certain way of doing things, and we'll find out it's really closely related to cruelty-free. Then we have vegan, and vegan skincare, different from cruelty-free, means that there's absolutely no animal byproducts used to make this product. And halal, we just kind of talked about it, very closely related to vegan.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that. I just had a little spidey sense.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Let's keep on keeping on. I'm digging in.
So when we're sitting here thinking, why do I need to know about this? Let's understand.
Yeah. How's that applicable to me? Why should I care as an esthetician or the consumer?
That's a great question. Let's get into it.
I want to. Let's do it.
So cruelty-free, there's just a couple. Here's something else I'm going to tell you guys behind the back of my hand is that not all bunnies on packages mean that they're certified cruelty-free.
That boggles my mind. I feel like that's bamboozling people.
That actually makes me angry.
It should. And it used to make me angry. And you know, as a consultant, and I would see these things happening. Oh, we're just going to put them up on there. We got the imaging from Shutterstock or something else. And they put them up there.
Yeah. And no one questions it because it's not like you have a little QR code next to it that takes you right to the list of everybody who's cruelty-free.
No.
They should.
It's just this blind trust. Oh, they say they're cruelty-free. They say they're vegan. That's awesome. But let's dig in a little bit more and understand this. So I went down the rabbit hole.
I get it. That's too funny. And it's Easter this weekend. Oh, just another side. Okay, anyhow.
going down the rabbit hole of what is really certified cruelty-free mean. And I found two really good organizations, PETA and Leaping Bunny. The interesting thing about both of these is that they're each nonprofit 501c3. And the rationale that I had been told previously from these other companies, I'm like, why are you doing it that way? Shouldn't we just take the steps to get certified? Oh, it's expensive was the answer. Not so much, because the process to become certified cruelty-free, free.
What?
Wow.
Okay, say it again.
The process to become certified cruelty-free is free. Now, there is a cost, and we're going to get to that. So let's talk about the difference between PETA and Leaping Bunny. So PETA is a global animal testing that is animal test free. So these are companies and brands that have verified that they and their suppliers do not conduct, commission, pay for, or allow any tests on animals for their ingredients, check, formulations, check, or finished products anywhere in the world, and that they will never do so in the future.
Can they use them on humans?
Yes, because this is not, what would that be? ETA.
Okay.
Or HETA.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, because like you do want people to be testing products, not just popping up formulations into a bottle and being like, all right, this looks good to me.
Right.
In vivo, real life.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just petri dish, which would be in vitro. Right. Yeah. And that's where it should be tested, because we're closely related to some. But what do I have in common with a mouse? What do I have in common with a bunny?
Or a sweet little monkey.
Or a monkey?
Yeah.
And we talked about that too, not to plug another podcast, but in the comedogenic scale.
Do it.
The comedogenic or comedogeneric, as I like to refer to it.
Snappy snap.
And what that means, those were bunny tested. So the other thing that PETA is the global animal test free and vegan. They provide that too. So the difference between animal test free and vegan is that companies recognize, companies and brands, that they have met the requirements to the product, the ingredients, the finished products is also free of animal derived ingredients. They're cruelty free, and they don't have anything which includes
Animals, products.
Honey.
Ooh, honey. Yeah.
Honey, something that you wouldn't really think of. So to become PETA cruelty free with the PETA bunny is free. But to use that stamp on your products is a $350 licensing fee to use that logo.
Per year?
Per year.
That's nothing.
Nothing.
That's like peanuts.
But the process to go back and make sure that every ingredient from every supplier, that's the arduous part.
That's where it gets spenders.
That's the part that companies don't really want to open themselves up to. And the other part is they also would have to disclose the labs that they're working in, to make sure that they're not mixing with other products or next to other products that have been tested. So then you have, as we kind of talked about with Tuivu, certified facilities. Next, we have Leaping Bunny. So that's another one that has been around for a long time. Also a 501c3, and they certify cosmetic, personal care, and household cleaning products, companies that pledge to refrain from animal testing, again, through all phases of production. And that's for ingredients, sourcing, and that's making sure, think of a peptide, and making sure that this peptide, to your point, Tracy, can produce the results that it said. Make sure this ingredient has never been tested on animals, and then this formula is not tested on animals, and then goes further. So they certify for U.S. or Canada based companies that sell their own line of personal care or household products. This is some of the qualifications that they give. Also, they certify for companies that are ready to ban animal testing on ingredients, formulations, and finished products. And they certify for suppliers and manufacturers that do not conduct animal testing for the ingredients. Same thing. And they ask that if you're wanting to become Leaping Bunny certified, that you're prepared to make a commitment against any new animal testing from this day forward.
Okay, so as you are going through all of this, the business-minded person that I am, this is a lot. You're going to have to hire someone within your company to oversee all of this. It's a lot. I get it. And so number one, it makes me angry when the thought of people literally just popping this downloaded logo on their packaging. I feel super mad.
It's an arduous process. It's a lot of work for sure.
It's a lot, and it's got to be long. This isn't, it wouldn't take 30 days and boop, we got it.
Yeah, for those who are, heck yeah, like boast about it and be proud of it. And usually those who are because they have the moral, their company has that moral compass that's what this moral.
And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Cornerstone.
Yes.
That this is one of the things they're
that's
built
important.
On. That is important.
Yeah.
And that is important to, like, there's a growing population of consumers that is important
Most
to.
definitely.
I think there's a huge segment that's looking for this. You know, I think it's more than growing, to your point, Ella. I also think that for companies, this should be built into the business plan. You know what I mean? They have hired that person or that lab, or maybe it's a whole staff of people. Yeah, they need to start that way. For companies that want to evolve and develop this, then they need to reevaluate their model and not think, how can we cut corners to be Leaping Bunny certified, but actually follow through and make it happen.
And then that process becomes easier so that new product development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the segment that's looking for the Leaping Bunny or looking for the cruelty-free. It may not be enough just to hear, hey, we are cruelty-free. It may be that they need to see that logo.
It's true.
And recognize what that logo is, not just a bunny on a package.
Hey guys, stop. Let's take a quick break.
Elibana, Australian-born, globally loved. Elibana's story is simple. They love lashes and brows. They shoot for the stars and lift lashes to new heights. Their addiction is real, their passion is popping, and there is nothing more they crave than offering excellence, service, and innovation in products. Elibana Lash Lift allows you to offer your customers luscious, lifted lashes that can last up to 12 weeks in one safe 20-minute treatment. Learn more at elibana-usa.com.
Let's get back to the conversation.
So speaking of gray areas in education, I decided to educate myself. So I keep digging down this rabbit hole. And I find this organization, that's a certification organization, and I have questions. So I called them up. It's a company called Earth Kosher.
Earth Kosher.
Turns out they're in Boulder. And I speak with Rabbi Goldman.
So cool.
It was so cool. He was so generous with his time. It was so fun.
Are we going to go have a tour with him?
I can ask him.
I'd love to meet him.
Absolutely. It was so fun to talk to him and hear his pronunciation of different words. And I'm writing them down in my attonation, how I hear them. And then I go check it out to see if I spelled it right. And so not. Right. So not. And so he was talking about kosher and kosher skincare and certification, as he is literally the authority here because they have a certification company. And he talks about Sar Balihaim is what he called it. And that is really the base of what they do. And that means literally that they want to ensure that they're not profiting or benefiting from the suffering of living creatures. And I thought, cruelty-free. Yeah. There you go. And that comes from their religious teachings, from their religious books.
The Torah
and the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means when they're doing things, they are using animals, but when they're processing, I won't go into descriptive words. If they're processing
humane way.
In a humane way, that it's in a facility, that it's in a humane way. And then the other part of that is that things are not mixing. So if you're eating kosher, you cannot mix dairy with meat.
And you have kosher kitchens. So you probably would have kosher formulation. Oh my gosh, am I giving? Oh, you're
have
Tracy.
Kosher kitchens, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're living in a kosher home and you have a kosher cutting board for cheese and a kosher cutting board for meat, and a knife for cheese and a knife for meat. Yep. And so when you're talking about product manufacturing,
I love this.
Yeah, this is something that they go to the facility to figure out. Is this is a consideration for them? Are you first off, are you producing only, are you the only person producing in this facility? Are you using a shared facility, which is common for especially smaller companies? If you're using a shared facility, oftentimes the benefit of that is that you can use shared equipment. So then they have to understand who used it before you, who else is using it, and are their ingredients or their processes
being kept separate or kosher?
Yeah.
What have you?
So one consideration. The next thing that they look at is the raw materials. Are these kosher? Are these kosher for if you are using animal byproducts or following different things that go into their laws? Can they be consumed? Basically, the long story short with the kosher part, is it harming me as a human to consume it? And is it respectfully coming from earth or animal.
So I have some questions because really when we think about manufacturing product, there really are not a lot of labs out there. So it's probably very likely that this kosher product is being created in a lab where other products that are potentially not kosher were created, correct?
Potentially, yes.
So what does that mean for them?
They have a specialty lab. So there's limited amount, a lot. So there's a couple different ways to look for kosher products. You can, like, a lot of the information that I was finding was like, look at the ingredients and like doing a lot of digging as a consumer, doing a lot of
tough.
digging.
I mean, it's tough enough to look at ingredient decks.
And even for cruelty-free,
Yeah.
same thing, right? Or if I have some kind of an allergy, to look at that way. And for this would be like a moral allergy, if you will. So there's some big brands that they can use at certain times of the year and certain days of the week, by the way, which we're going to get to. But they can't, they have to really dissect it. And it depends on the level of kosher that they're holding. You know, if they're super orthodox, then they have companies that produce that for super orthodox in orthodox areas. And think of that area for Hasidic Jews in New York.
Oh, yeah.
They have a skincare company that comes out of there, and that's widely known. So the ingredients in particular, are they pure? What was the source? Honestly, they don't want animal derivatives for topical use. Nothing with gelatin, nothing with tallow, nothing with snail mucus, and nothing with caviar. So there goes Korean skincare out.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, a special caviar. And then just the other day, I mean, what is snail mucus used for again? Because weren't we just talking about that on the last podcast?
Snail mucus is in some, I mean, it sounds so gross, right?
It does. I mean, hey, would you like some snail boogers?
Yes,
Let's do
please,
this.
sign me up.
Yes, it'll make my eyes look less puffy. Excellent.
I love it.
Yeah.
They have like all kinds of different even treatment options. Remember those fish that would eat the dead skin cells on your, and they have these, they'll put a snail on your face and let it crawl around.
No, okay.
I don't know
I thought
where.
I heard that there was actually extracts that they've been putting in different types of products. But anyhow, I digress. Keep on.
There is, you're right, 100%. So speaking of that and ingredients, you can have a kosher product, but there's other considerations. Yes, this is a pure ingredient. Yes, this is kosherly sourced, but certain times of the year, like Passover, for example, for those 8 days during Passover, they cannot benefit from or profit from anything that has certain ingredients in it, period. So that's why they have like the flatbread, because of the way they had to leave and they couldn't have any spelted anything. So products that have no wheat, no rye, no oats, and again, no spelt, nothing that rises. So that means during that time, during Passover, and also during Sabbath, that they can't have these certain forbidden ingredients. So when you think about those, a lot of times those are emulsifiers in products. Think of xanthan gum, for example. Or they couldn't use even something like a vino, because those are really oat-based products.
Wow. And we were just talking about colloidal oatmeal.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And that would be not kosher during Passover. Also, they couldn't use those during Sabbath. And so when we look at vegan certification, of course, there's no animal byproducts. And to be certified, similar process, they want to make sure they're not using anything, again, gelatin or certain, think of squalane, for example. If you're using squalane, is it from shark liver or is it from sugarcane?
How about collagen? That's usually a gelatin base, isn't it?
Collagen is an excellent example of a potentially forbidden ingredient.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, collagen, let's dig deeper. So a lot of digging and researching. So the vegan certification or the vegan mindset for skincare is very similar to halal, which is also following up, just like cruelty-free and then kosher. Halal is very similar to kosher, where there's adherence to a following of a certain path. And so dietarily, they can eat animals if they're processed in a certain way. But for skincare, no.
Interesting. So they can ingest, but they can't put it on their face.
So halal means permissible or lawful, and haram means harmful. So no haram ingredients. So anything that will not cause harm. So this could be potentially, this definition is so broad that this could be anything that could irritate your skin.
Ooh, like a retinol or alpha hydroxy.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially. So no toxins, no methylparabens, no ethyl. This changes the preservative game. And then lipstick and perfume are two products. Another part of halal law or Muslim law is the way they consume things, and absolutely no alcohol. So the alcohol definition is a little different. So with lipstick, because it can be potentially digested and there's no animal byproducts, they have to look at things like lecithin, glycerol, fatty acids, collagen, but also some coloring. Some coloring comes from insects.
Wow.
Carnine, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be considered haram, harmful. And then we look at alcohols like perfume. To keep halal, they don't wear perfumes because perfumes have alcohol. And because you could potentially inhale the perfume.
Or if you're really thirsty, you could drink it. And you had a rough day.
If you have had a rough
Just
day.
kidding.
Not if you're holding halal.
Oh, right. I wouldn't do it.
So this is no ethanol alcohol, no fermented alcohol or byproducts. And the other thing that's interesting with this is a conversation I had with Abdul on the plane, is no tartaric acid. And so tartaric acid, like glycolic acid, is an alpha hydroxy. So you'd have to make sure that's not in your products.
Whoa. This one's tough.
And
this
no
one's
lactic acid, because lactic's derived from milk.
Right?
So it's just a matter of looking at that. So nothing with ethyl alcohol, ethylene, or methylated spirits whatsoever. And that's because this ethanol form can penetrate the skin to some degree, and that can enter your bloodstream to some kind of a measurable amount.
That's really interesting because there's a lot of ingredients that you can argue are not doing harm, but they are penetrating the skin or potentially the bloodstream.
Yeah, entering the bloodstream.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you also think to yourself, then what's left on the table? What's active? What kind of good skincare? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like if you're starting to check off this list of all these things that you can't,
you have to get creative.
Tough. Yeah, it's tough. You got to get creative.
So if you're thinking of, for example, no fermented ingredients, so no probiotics,
right?
You have to think of a different way to serve the microbiome. Or absolutely no. Here's another one that's haram, is hydroquinone. So no hydroquinone, but you could get creative and think of sea fennel extract, for example, or other brightening agents that are naturally derived, licorice root, as long as it's not fermented. With halal, the interesting part too is that the entire supply chain process must be compliant to be certified halal. That means even packaging, labeling, handling, and storage.
Woof. It's impressive. It's a commitment. I mean, I think, wow, this is a lot, right? It's like my brain is like, so I think to myself, what does this mean to the esthetician? What does this mean then to the consumer? Like, break it down for me. Lay it all out. Connect the dots, girl.
Let's talk about why it's important to understand or be aware of these certifications. Specifically, we know vegan and cruelty-free and why they're important to some a moral compass or a set of personal ethics.
Right.
And
that could be anybody. In any religion. So it's anybody.
So why do we need to understand kosher and halal?
Yes.
Well, it could be said that if you do find a kosher brand, for example, that you have that leg up to make sure, yes, absolutely, this is cruelty-free. And how I know is because their standards are so much higher, or they have to adhere to a certain set of standards. So this is cruelty-free. Not only that, but blah, blah. So for that, perhaps it aligns with your personal or moral position.
So I might have missed it, but is there a kosher stamp? Is there a logo? Okay, there is.
There's a couple different. And we talked to Rabbi Goldman. Yeah, he has a certification.
Is
facility.
There
yes,
halal?
There's halal certification. Yes. Mm-hmm. And in fact, speaking of halal, one of the biggest growing trends, according to Research Cosmos, it's a market research firm, is that they estimate halal cosmetic industry to be worth, ready?
I'm ready.
$53.81 billion by 2025, which is
in the world,
over the world, couple years from now.
Amazing.
It's amazing. So it's growing, and halal faster than kosher, but kosher is going to be right behind it.
Isn't Muslim the fastest growing religion in the world? Right?
Oh, that's a great question.
I believe it is.
Yeah. So it's important to be aware of that, especially as we're servicing communities that are growing
more diverse,
and melding together. And so another reason to be aware of this and maybe to consider looking into this for now is, as it's a growing industry, could be a way to distinguish yourself from other professionals and to become a specialist, especially right now.
Down. I mean, Maggie knows I'm about a niche.
Yeah.
Find your niche. Niche it out, niche.
And
Totally.
here's your opportunity. So it's really cool. I found it very fascinating. I thought it was very interesting, and I can't wait to find out what else happens.
I think that even if it is not specifically your niche, to just market that I am cruelty-free, and by the way, my products are kosher, you may find that all of a sudden you are bringing in a segment of clientele that you never had before.
And they might think, finally.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell all my friends I'm going there.
And maybe they're not holding 100% kosher.
Right.
But that might be the tipping point for them. Like,
I'm going to go there.
if I'm going to go A or B, I choose B because they're...
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
So it's very interesting. There's a lot more. There's a lot more we could have gone into on these things because there's degrees and all this stuff. But as far as like adhering to the religion itself, but for the purpose of skincare and the skincare professional, just being aware of that is...
I think it'd be so fun to hear from everybody on social media to see if they've heard of it, if they think it's something they'd want to include. And I think it'd be really fun for us as a team to just continue monitoring, what those stats look like and how many more companies like that are coming out with products that are kosher or halal.
Yeah, absolutely. And perhaps we can, take a field trip to Boulder and come back and report what we find.
Yeah.
Talk to Rabbi Goldman for sure. It'd be awesome.
I love it.
Now, listeners, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on halal, kosher, vegan, cruelty-free, and their role in skincare? As a professional, how do you address these? Are you excited about these? What do you know about these? What do you want to know? Let us know. Reach out on our social media platforms, especially Instagram and Facebook, or by emailing getconnected@ascpskincare.com. We want to know all the details. In the meantime, thank you for listening to ASCP Esty Talk. For more information on this episode, or ways to connect with Maggie or myself, or to learn more about ASCP, check out the show notes and stay tuned for the next episode of ASCP Esty Talk.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like what you hear and you want more, subscribe. If you want to belong to the only all-inclusive association for estheticians that includes professional liability insurance, education, industry insights, and an opportunity to spotlight your 6 skills, join at ascpskincare.com. Only $259 per year for all this goodness. ASCP knows it's all about you.